And I think.
That's just facts, and I
They
brought
measured
pictures.
from where the plow line was on the report.
And you can clearly see where I measured from.
Were there any other tracks in the snow that someone else could have hit it? Did you check anything like that?
Just the
The police report said that it looks that the plow is at least a foot away from the front of the truck. I believe is what the report said.
That's what I said.
I don't know word for word, it's not in front of me.
You got to be more prepared for these meetings because you're going to get questions and you have to, know the
I
facts.
thought I was pretty prepared by going out and measuring that.
You didn't know I was coming. So, I deal in facts. So.
Well, and I have pictures that's facts.
Okay. And there were no tracks of any other car going through there? Or were there?
Here's the thing, I mean, I don't know, because there's other plow companies that plow other spots in those areas.
Okay.
So to say that no other trucks ever ran through there, I'd be lying.
Okay.
That'd just be a flat out lie.
Okay.
Because there's probably 5 plow trucks through there on any given night on a snow event.
He seemed like an honest guy to me. I mean, I don't think he was trying to.
There's no way that plow hit that truck. It's impossible.
We could show you the pictures. I'll show you the pictures after the meeting if you'd like to see them. There's no possible way that plow did that damage. No way. And I would stand behind that 1,000,000%.
Okay.
So do we need to vote to send a letter out to him or just contact the
If you
claimant?
were motion to deny the claim, you could do that, and then the judge can send a letter.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Because why? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Because why?
Motion to deny the claim.
They can make a motion to deny the letter, and then Joan can send a letter out
Oh.
implementing their decision.
So I will make that motion because I went out, took the pictures and spoke. So I'll make the first motion on that and I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Treasurer and Secretary bond insurance forms for approval.
We just need authorization for.
These are the same forms we sign each year.
Right. Well, this one, actually, we're gonna go with a different company, because we're gonna get a better rate,
Okay.
so we are making a change for that reason, to save the township some money.
I'll make the motion.
Second? Motion is second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mandatory connection ordinance for advertisement.
Yeah, you authorized this ordinance to be advertised at your meeting last month. It was cleaned up slightly, no substantive changes. So we're still on track to advertise it for your action at your February meeting. I don't typically, unless it's time sensitive, I don't typically advertise ordinances for action at your workshops.
DC recommendation, medical marijuana facility zoning amendment for advertising.
I guess I can interject there. The medical marijuana ordinance was reviewed by your planning commission and the Berks County Planning Commission. And at its meeting last week, your planning commission recommended that the ordinance be advertised for final action by this board. So they don't have any further input. Don't know if you've had the opportunity to review the ordinance yet. If you have, and if you're in agreement, you can make a motion to authorize the advertisement of the ordinance for an upcoming meeting. This is a land zoning ordinance, so there is a public hearing requirement. I'll have to look at the calendar to see if I can get it on the February 9th meeting agenda to see if there's enough time. If you haven't yet reviewed the ordinance and would like to, you can do so. It's not a time-sensitive ordinance, it's just one for planning purposes.
You guys wanna review it? Maybe review it.
I don't.
Alan, do you need to review it, or do you?
I don't believe so. It's only gonna be allowed in the I-1 and I-2.
Yeah, I can briefly summarize it, maybe while you guys are looking at it. What it does is permits medical marijuana grower and processors and medical marijuana delivery vehicle offices in the I-1 and the I-2 zoning districts only, and that would be by conditional use only. So they need to apply in front of the board, have a hearing in front of the board, and you have the opportunity to impose reasonable conditions on the operation. There is 2 other categories of marijuana facilities. One is called a dispensary, that would be the retail sale would be a conditional use in the IOP zoning district and the C3 highway commercial district only. And then academic clinical research centers would be in the I1 or the I2 as well. So any medical marijuana facility that's proposed would be subject to a conditional use procedure that would require a hearing in front of this board before they're allowed to operate.
Is there any requirement to have more than one zoning district for a type of use? Like, could we only maybe allow it C3 instead of IOP and C3?
The law allows you, or requires that you provide for every use somewhere in your township.
There only has to be one, right?
Yes, it's got to be a reasonable opportunity for the use to be created. There is special provisions for the medical marijuana use under the law that allows for the use, that really marries those uses with the same regulations that you would apply to any other commercial or industrial use. And so this ordinance does precisely that. You can't discriminate against them beyond what you would an industrial or commercial use. And every medical marijuana facility needs to be licensed by the state and comply with all of the various state regulations as well, because they're very highly regulated use to begin with.
So what areas are they? Would that be we could put those different things in our township? Because I don't know the zoning map by top of my head.
C3, which is over by the highways.
Okay.
Like XTL, the casino.
Yeah.
IOP, down on 23, where the Walmart is, where the airport is, and then the industrial are all basically in the industrial park on the other side of the turnpike, on the south side of 23.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little bit of industrial on the north side of the turnpike, but very little. I think that's all of it, right?
I mean, we can't make that tighter at all? Because I know we could fight it, because I know they were going to put a dispensary at the old, in Carnarvon, Lancaster, at the bank, and that end up not happening. People withdrew that. But I know people are not, no, people just, it's when they say those NIMBY things. They don't really want it in their backyard. But I know you have to allow it. And we're saying we can make it any tighter. I know that's pretty much Alan was asking, yeah.
Not allow it in the IOP and allow it only in C3.
I mean, I just don't really like it near Walmart. And like, in the industrial park behind me, but I can't really pick and choose. I mean, I always thought said it was always going to be like, away, like towards the casino area, away from the houses.
As far as the dispensary, the average dispensary, is it the size of a beer distributor or small, like a Spencer Gift or something?
Most of the dispensaries around are maybe 2,000 to 3,000 square feet max.
Mm-hmm.
They're very small. Basically because of the volume of traffic. I mean, people are coming there to fill a prescription.
Mm-hmm.
It's not retail sales, you're filling a prescription.
Right.
So it's no different than a very specialized pharmacy is what it is.
Okay.
Do you foresee them being allowed in like Rite Aid?
No.
Not a normal drugstore type prescription?
No, the bottom line is the state wants to make money off of this, so there are special facilities. So.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification, because I think it's like catch-22. People might get scared, but I know a lot of people that actually do have prescriptions for it as well and are eager to have something that's close by. So it's like, both sides of the issue there.
I think we might want to reconsider the IOP. But what's the board think?
Do we have any IOP besides the airplane place?
No. Yeah,
And that's being changed, right?
Properties on the south side of 23.
Oh, okay.
Between like where the old hobby shop was and 23, those are all IOP.
Mm-hmm.
There might be one industrial on the far corner there, but those are IOP.
There's also limitations on schools and churches as well.
That's right, you can't be too close.
Right, so that's.
Is that
That'll help the church.
Is that
Yeah.
1,000 feet, Eric, with school and church?
Yeah, there's what we call buffer zones,
Yeah.
and so a dispensary can't be located within 1,000 feet of the property line of a public, private, or parochial school or a daycare center. It shall be a minimum distance of 1,000 feet from the nearest other medical marijuana dispensary. So you can't have two right next door.
So through state guidelines, it's not just our guidelines, it's
Yeah, I know. I'm like taping this. I want to make sure we people get weirded out when they start hearing that.
We discussed this a lot. and here's
I know.
the bottom line, like if we don't put it in the industrial park, because that's right behind Penwood. So where do we put it?
I know.
Do we put it in the Walmart shopping center, or do we, there's
Yeah.
nothing left over here.
It has to be easily accessible.
Yeah. So it's
You
a
can't have it in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, if we have it somewhere out in the middle of a farm field back in the woods,
Yeah,
it might turn into something.
yeah,
valuable.
exactly.
So I'd rather have them in the limelight where everyone's looking at them.
Yeah.
You know, locks on your doors keep honest people honest, that's all the locks do. So why don't we just keep honest people honest?
What do you wanna do?
What do you think? Just
I don't
do
know that
C3?
I don't know that I like the idea of it being in the IOP, but
So just to verify, we don't have any interested in doing this now, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not at this time.
there's been calls.
So we're
but
just trying to get an ordinance in place, correct?
Yes,
So they can't put it just anywhere.
yes, we just want something, Paulie, so that they can't just plop it down wherever they want.
Well, I'll make a motion to accept that, and I'll go off the recommendations of the planning commission since they voted unanimous.
You have a second?
I'll second.
Two for it? All in favor? Aye. PC recommendation, commercial residential overlay district.
Yeah, at the planning commission last week, we were looking at, or we discussed at length the idea of creating a overlay district, for residential, commercial, for the north part of the IOP zoning district, basically anything on the north side of Route 23. What the planning commission did was recommend that the Board of Supervisors allow a draft of that overlay district to be prepared for review by the planning commission and by the board. And that's what the recommendation is, to allow a draft to be prepared to be reviewed.
And what's the draft of? The type of zoning as far as setbacks and everything?
Yes, it would discuss uses, just like, but the draft would be prepared and it would discuss the type of residential, it would discuss what,
Percentage residential versus commercial?
it would discuss all that. And then it would be up to the PC to review it, tweak it, whatever, and then present it to the board. So, I mean, it's just to get the draft started, to get discussion going.
The concern I have, is if we have a proposed development of mixed residential uses, if we would allow that on the airport property, the rest of the IOP is pretty much probably gonna have to stay commercial. Cause the proposed development is only maybe 10% commercial, the rest is various residential apartments, townhomes, and single-family dwellings.
Developers here.
Terry, I think you summed that up pretty well. What our understanding was that, what we were asking the draft to be worked on was to create an overlay district in the PR, that's a PRD overlay that's similar to what's in the R4. There's 8 acres of commercial. The total property is 54 acres, of which 40% of is open space. So if you start to back that math up, it's a lot more than 10%. You know, it's you know, take 40% of 50 acres out, it's roughly well, what is it, 10 acres? So now you're down to 40, and it's 8 acres of 40s.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah. 30.
40% of 50 acres would be about 20 acres.
Right, bad math.
Roughly.
So the percentage of commercial with what we discussed at the planning commission meeting is a lot more than 10% of, if you compare the residential to the commercial.
The commercial doesn't require open space as far as stormwater and stuff.
There is some open space requirement, it's not the same as residential.
Not side.
Right, and that's, the whole purpose of this is to get the draft started so that you can see language and then start to discuss it and tweak it. You're not approving an overlay district tonight, all you're doing is
Approving to see what
approving a
someone's
draft, like getting the draft
Condition
started.
an overlay would be.
Okay.
Yeah, my concern is going too far with something that isn't gonna be, accepted.
Well, we had a lot of discussion at the meeting, and I think we talked about a lot of things that relate to the plan that we proposed, and we understand that may not be exactly where it ends up. And the PRD, there's a whole public hearing part of the PRD that we're asking for an overlay, so it's just not like the plans are approved. There's a process to go through. I thought it was unanimous that came out of the planning commission to move forward in that direction. And as Terry stated, we're looking for your solicitor and our attorney to start getting the language together.
The problem is when Brian made the motion, he said, the plan that you proposed could not this. The problem is, once you allow this, create this overlay, any plan that fits within the spec will be able to be built in there by right.
But we're not approving it.
We're not.
I know, but why waste time and money moving forward with something that will never be accepted?
Right, we're not gonna rush into it.
So are you saying you already decided that you're not going to accept it?
The current plan that you proposed, no, I wouldn't accept that. I wouldn't vote for it, no. Because, the apartments, the townhomes, we never got through with changing the zoning in the IOP. We discussed not having it all commercial, but we never got around to discussing what type of residential would go in there. But I know you're hot to get this project on because that property's for sale, but we never talked about townhomes, apartments.
Well,
We never got that
the
far.
consensus at the meeting from the public, and also what I understood was, it was a pretty good start to what would be an acceptable use on that property.
There was a lot of questions about the apartments. I believe the condos also.
There's
but
no
the apartments
condos.
were the big one.
There are no condos. Where did you come up with that? There were
There's
no condos?
I'm
No.
sorry, townhomes.
Okay,
Same thing, okay.
totally different setup. Well, what we're asking, what came out of the planning commission is exactly what Terry stated, and that's what we're expecting, some direction on from you folks tonight.
The thing is, when we had talked about residential uses in the IOP, I was thinking single-family dwellings, like a Highcroft with bigger lots, bigger streets, more parking, so you're not parking in the streets. But we never got there. We were talking about mixed use with, what do they call that, work, live, or whatever, like Eagle View, and then the age restricted is very desirable. We talked about that, but we never got to firm up as a board what we wanted there, or wanted to go that way as far as residential. But when Brian even made the proposal, though, he said, but not this plan, and I'm sure that was because of the apartments.
Well, who's paying for this to be done?
Well, we would post up an escrow. I believe that's in your ordinance, that we would post an escrow to cover the expense of your folks on your side.
There would be an escrow set up.
Okay. So I mean, if they started the overlay and if we don't like it,
Yeah, but I don't wanna see them waste money either.
it's their money. It's their money.
Yeah,
It'd be
but I'm
nice
reading a
to-
letter right here, it says that the planning commission voted 5-0. Alan's on the planning commission.
Exactly, I did vote 5-0, and, got to thinking about what we voted on. Brian mentioned when he voted, when he made the motion, but not this. But then I got to thinking, yeah, but once that overlay's accepted, they can put in anything that falls within the, like, requirements of that overlay district, whatever they come up with.
But not-
Which might be
not approve it.
exactly the plan that they proposed.
But not, we don't approve it.
I know.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but we've also met with Gary McEwen how many different times, and I'm assuming Gary's there, I can't see. But, Gary was willing to work with the township on what goes in there. So
That's
I'm
what
sure
I
it's
heard
an issue
many
that we get
times,
that.
Paul. But every time the planning commission brought up a concern, okay, it was, no, we can't do that, we can't do that.
What exactly concerns that were brought up that we said that? I'm
Other
curious.
than single-family residents, there were
Well,
concerns
you keep
about the
bringing, up live work. Live works is not, it doesn't work.
I know
And you can ask
yes.
anybody that knows anything about real estate, it's not gonna work it doesn't work in Eagle View, and it's not gonna work here. That's the only thing I know we said
That's what
specifically
your
won't work.
opinion of it, but there are people that think it works.
And I ask you, did you hire a planner to take a look at, like, a comprehensive plan? Do you know that Berks County,
Who is our planner?
that Berks County is pushing residential on comprehensive plans in Berks County municipalities because there's a lack of residential, just like there's a lack of residential in this township. That's what you need, Alan. You know, you sat there, you listened to the meeting, you voted in favor to move on for the two attorneys, to recommendation for this board to allow the two attorneys to start on the overlay district. That's all we're asking for right now.
But I don't foresee, if you have all that apartment and all those homes in there, that it'll be approved. It's just a waste of effort.
Alan, are you the only one on the board?
No.
Okay, well, I mean, you,
Voicing his opinion.
yeah, I know, but,
His opinions
I know,
were
but the whole thing is, you know, he agreed, and I was at that meeting, to let him move forward. I mean, you should let it move forward and see how it develops and make your decision, but it seems like you made the decision before we've got that far along. I mean, I'm granted you might have reservations, but you pretty much are saying you made a decision already, which isn't really the time and place. We should be actually have a land use development plan. As a township, and not base
Michelle,
everything
okay,
based on the.
When I got on this board a long time ago, one of the reasons I got on the board,
Mhm.
okay, when you came to a meeting here, you only spoke in the beginning.
Excuse
of the
me.
meeting, okay, and then, okay, if you had any concern throughout the meeting, tough luck. Wait till the next meeting.
Okay.
But now you interrupt so much and seem to get so much, you know, glory out of it. I don't know why.
Okay, so.
Okay.
What do we wanna do?
I think we should let them go on. If it was
I-
five.
Just
I
the
don't-
overlay.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to accept the PRD R4 district overlay, especially since I'm reading that it was voted upon 5-0 in planning commission.
I think that
Okay.
I would second that. I'd like to see what, Gary,
Okay.
let's see your proposal.
To clarify the motion, Paul, it is to allow the draft
Just a
language
draft.
to start.
Yes.
They're
Right,
not
nothing- it's
approving
not
the
approving
overlay
anything.
district.
We wanna see what their opinion is of
Right.
the overlay.
And changes
That's
can be
what
made
we'd
from
like to
there.
see next.
That's, I just want to
but
make
the
sure.
apartments are definitely a go.
Alan, you're trying, we're asking to just get started on the ordinance. That's all we expected tonight. When that ordinance gets started, that's when the discussion is gonna be about what's gonna be in that overlay ordinance.
Yeah,
I
they
think-
can't plan
No,
anything until
I-
we approve what can go in there.
I mean, we can keep kicking this around. I honestly, I think, is there anybody in the audience that has any opinion on this?
Well, I'm not allowed to have my opinion.
There's 144
No, you're not. You just told me I'm not allowed to.
That's not true.
There's 144 apartments, is that correct?
That's correct.
And these apartments are on the verge of being a condo. Would that be somewhat accurate?
Well,
They're pretty nice. They're pretty.
they're
elaborate.
they're 12 to 1,400 a month is what the rental's gonna be, and that includes, as Mr. Farino said, a clubhouse, an on-site manager, and a swimming pool. And then there's 42 townhouses on that plan and 110 single families.
Now that is just
And
the plan that
commercial.
was proposed, which was slightly better than a hand drawing. That's what they brought to us. So that's the stage that we're at. It's just not much more than a hand drawing.
It was an expensive hand drawing.
An expensive hand drawing. So, is there anybody in the room that has any opinion or anything on that?
Yeah, I'd like to repeat what I said at the planning meeting, and that is a couple of facts. One is Mr. Byler is getting old. Fact number two, he's going to sell the property to somebody who will develop it in some capacity. I encourage the board to move in this direction and accept this proposal because it is a local developer who we know and who we trust. And as has been alluded to, the plan that they have submitted is in my words, a conversation starter. And nothing can happen with that conversation until what you guys are deciding now has been accomplished. When there's language for a PRD over top of that development, over top of that zoning, then there can be a conversation as to specifics of what that development looks like. I would encourage the board to approve this motion and get the motion happening. And I think it's premature for anybody on this board to say we shouldn't do this because it won't be approved. You cannot say that, Alan. It's going to come to a vote. There's going to be conversations, and even though it's clear you don't want it, it's going to be a matter that's decided between the Planning Commission and this board as to what happens there. Nothing can happen until this motion is carried, and these guys can begin to draft language that they can work with.
Anyone else?
Yes, Michelle?
So I raised my hand from now on. I was told I wasn't allowed to make a comment until we were at that point of it, and I was making my comment. So I think you were out of line for what you said to me. I agree with agreeing with what Lynn had said.
I do too.
Anything else?
I would like to see, one thing, Paulie, I know Paulie had something he wanted to say, sorry, but, one thing that I would like to see is a traffic study also. I think a traffic study needs to be done. That's one of the biggest concerns.
We're gonna have a situation like
What happens with traffic? That's really, no matter what goes in there, that's the biggest concern is traffic. At this point, there could be other concerns down the road, but at this point, looking forward, our biggest concern is gonna be traffic, because Thursday and Friday nights in this town, we get gridlock. If we have another 1,000 turnarounds, another 1,000 passes through town from residents, between the apartments over here, the apartments across from the beer distributor, and the proposed development, I think we need a serious traffic study done to see where that will leave us overall.
We're gonna have more than 1,000 passes with that size.
Well, I'm just using general numbers. I don't know the exact number. That is, 1,000 is not exact, but
Pretty close.
somewhat accurate.
Paulie, what did you have to say?
Well, I agree. I mean, that's definitely something we need to address when it comes to traffic, but I don't think we're to that point yet. I think Brooks is just looking for some, language here that they can get started with the plans. I mean, we can address that stuff as it comes up, but that's why I wanna make the motion that they can at least get the stuff started at least and make it official.
I would second your motion. I would like to see
We have
what they have to propose.
Sandy, can I make one final comment? We appreciate, Jeff invited us to the planning commission. I thought we had a really good discussion at the planning commission. So, thank you for that. Kept us from throwing the towel in. You understand what we're asking for is a PRD ordinance, and the PRD ordinance there's a tentative plan process which involves a public hearing. So there will be a public hearing early part of that project, and one of the things that will be required will be a traffic study. And you probably all know how a traffic study works. you do a scoping analysis and a scoping design with PennDOT. So the traffic concerns will be incorporated into that. It'll be a full-blown traffic study because PennDOT will drive that, Terry, I'm sure you agree. So to address your traffic, it'll be as part of that tentative plan process, which will be part of a submission for a public hearing. So this isn't like, you write the ordinance, accept the plan, and we're good to go. The PRD that is a pretty lengthy process to get to that first phase of the final plan. It goes tentative plan to final plan. It's not really preliminary to final like normal developments do. So PRD has some pieces to it that there's some extra hurdles that you have to go through, or we have to go through if we get that far. But what we're really asking for is, I think what your motion is that we get started, that they get started, our attorney and Eric gets started on the ordinance, and then it comes back for you folks to review.
Did you consider age restricted senior living at all?
We haven't even really done a market analysis, so.
That would be so much more beneficial because over 65 people don't drive as much. It wouldn't affect the community as far as all that congestion at rush hour. You know, a lot of those people would travel to the back road of the casino.
And I also told you that we're on the backside of the baby boomers, which is the age restricted, and that population is moving through the continuum, and they're in probably the next 5 years, I think you're going to see a declining demand for age restricted.
Now, just to reiterate, from the planning commission meeting, so this development would have its own HOA.
There would be two HOAs. One would be, the apartments would have their own management, that would be separate from all the fee simple residential, and they would have their own homeowners association, maintain the open space, maintain, the streets.
The streets in there, I mean, we wouldn't have to be plowing. We wouldn't have to be plowing the main road.
That's what the intent is, but we are talking about the possibility of locating Willow Glen Road to come out to the traffic light that's being proposed, so that it doesn't come out on that nasty angle that's there now. Yeah. And that was something that the Turnpike Commission thought was a good idea as part of their design when the bridge work gets done.
So they're talking about the main road that goes through or around.
Around or through.
Their development, through or around.
The rest would be maintained by the association.
That would be dedicated to the township, and then the rest of that would be in
and then
the
we
HOAs.
need policing. We'll need more police.
That's another problem. The current proposal.
That's right.
The estimate's going to be $100 grand for the township tax. It'll cost us over $100 grand for one police officer. We'll need two.
Well, I mean, we're kind of getting off track here, but I think to say you need one police officer to police a residential community like that, I think that's a big stretch.
How many thousand residents are you adding? At least 1,500 probably.
Well, we don't even know yet.
No way. It's not.
Well, that was the proposal.
I think 500 is.
Well, it's 244. It's less than 300. It's like almost 300 units.
300 times 4, 1,200.
No, it's not times 4. It was times 2 3/4 if you did an educated math. Right. It was 2 3/4 per house. I believe is what it worked out to. I looked at that.
Lynn?
Yeah, I keep wanting to bring the conversation back to big picture, and to address what you said about traffic, Jeff.